Lifting a brand new $40,000 swim spa over a two-story house is easily one of the most dangerous jobs you can do in residential construction. We're talking about a 10-ton piece of machinery lifting a 20-foot-long multi-ton tub high into the air, over a family's home and lowering it into their backyard. The precision required is immense. One tiny slip, one mechanical failure, one gust of wind at the wrong moment, and that massive pool crashes right through the roof. It's a catastrophe waiting to happen, which is why everyone on the crew is always on edge during these lifts. The crane operator for this particular job was a guy named Mike, a seasoned veteran with decades of experience. He knew the risks better than anyone. So, for a lift this specific, this perilous, he charged a premium high-risk fee. It's not just for his expertise. It covers the specialized insurance needed in case the absolute worst happens. The homeowner knew all this up front. He saw the quote, understood the line item for the risk fee, and he agreed to it. He signed the initial paperwork, seemingly eager to get his dream pool installed. Everything seemed normal, until the pool was in the air. The setup took hours. A massive 100-ton crane was carefully maneuvered into the tight suburban street. Outriggers were extended and planted firmly on the ground to stabilize the colossal machine. The crew, working with practiced efficiency, rigged up the giant swim spa with heavy-duty straps, checking and double-checking every connection point. The air was thick with a mix of diesel fumes and nervous tension. Then the moment of truth arrived. Mike, sitting high up in the crane's cab, gently eased the throttle. The engine roared to life, and with a groan of straining steel, the 20-foot spa began its ascent. It lifted off the flatbed truck, cleared the power lines, and started its slow, majestic journey over the house. The ground crew guided it with taglines, fighting to keep it from swaying. The pool was dangling 40 feet in the air, a monolithic pendulum hanging directly over the peak of the roof. It was the most critical point of the entire operation. Suddenly, a figure burst out of the front door of the house. It was the homeowner, and he was running towards the crane, waving his arms frantically, shouting for them to stop. From his vantage point, Mike saw the commotion and paused the lift, the spa now hovering precariously over the family's living room. The homeowner, standing in his driveway, cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled up to the cab. "Hey, I was just checking online," he shouted, "and crane rentals are way cheaper than what you're charging me. I'm not paying that risk fee." Mike couldn't believe what he was hearing. The man was trying to renegotiate the price while his investment and his own house were literally hanging in the balance. The homeowner must have thought he had all the leverage. He figured since the pool was already in the air, Mike wouldn't want to go through the hassle of packing everything up and leaving empty-handed. He figured wrong. The man then issued an ultimatum, his voice echoing across the quiet street. "You either drop it in the hole back there," he yelled, pointing towards his backyard, "or I'm not paying you a single dime." He crossed his arms, confident he had just outsmarted the entire crew and was about to save himself a few $100. Up in the cab, Mike remained calm. He keyed his radio and spoke to his ground crew, telling them to hold their positions. Then he leaned out the window to address the homeowner. He explained patiently that the risk fee wasn't just some random charge. It was for the multi-million-dollar insurance policy that would cover the cost of a new house if the crane failed and dropped the pool. No fee, no insurance, no lift. It was that simple. The owner just laughed. He seemed to think it was all a big bluff. "You're already here," he scoffed. "You've already done most of the work." "Just finish the job." Mike glanced at his instruments. The wind, which had been calm all morning, was starting to pick up. The large, flat sides of the swim spa were acting like a giant sail, catching the breeze and beginning to sway more noticeably. Holding a load of this size over a structure in increasing wind is against every safety protocol in the book. The situation was escalating from a financial dispute to a genuine safety hazard. Mike knew he couldn't hold the position for much longer. He made a decision. He leaned back out the window and gave the owner one final warning, his voice firm and clear. "You have 10 seconds to bring me the signed check for the full, agreed-upon amount. If you don't, this load is returning to the truck. You wouldn't dare." The owner screamed back, his face turning red with anger. He clearly believed Mike was bluffing, that no operator would reverse such a complex and costly procedure over a simple fee. He was about to learn a very expensive lesson about professional integrity and the laws of physics. Mike didn't say another word. He simply turned back to his controls. He didn't bluff. With a precise and deliberate movement, he shifted the joystick. The massive hydraulic motors of the crane whined as they engaged. The $40,000 swim spa, which had been just inches away from being lowered into its final resting place in the backyard, stopped its descent. Then it began to move up. The homeowner's jaw dropped. He watched in stunned silence as his dream pool started its journey in reverse. It lifted higher into the air, slowly drifting back over the chimney, gliding over the second-story roof, and traversing the sky above the driveway. With the same care and precision he had used to lift it, Mike swung the spa back around and lowered it softly, perfectly, right back onto the flatbed truck it had come from. The crew on the ground immediately began unstrapping it. The homeowner stood frozen in his driveway, watching as the crew efficiently packed up their gear. The massive crane retracted its boom, the outriggers were pulled in, and within 30 minutes, the truck carrying his pool was starting its engine. He had gambled and lost spectacularly. By trying to save a few $100s on the $500 risk fee, he had triggered the abort fee clause in the contract he had signed. That fee was $2,500. On top of that, because the pool was now considered a returned special order item, he was also hit with a 15% restocking charge. That was another $6,000 gone. In his attempt to be clever, he cost himself nearly $10,000 and got absolutely nothing in return. The truck drove away, leaving the man standing alone on the street, staring at the giant, empty hole in his backyard, a monument to his own poor judgment. And we can only imagine the conversation he had with his wife later that day. The backyard, to this day, is still just a hole in the ground. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next one.